And we're live.
Are we live? We on?
Yep, looks
Beautiful.
like it.
Hello, everybody. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to go share this in to the event as well. I'll do that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I am here with the glorious Chenae Carey. Chenae has been grateful enough to give me her time to be able to come and talk to you all and to me about her experience with the Money Healing Mastermind. So Chenae is in the intake that is running at the moment. We've got 2.5 weeks, I think, left before. So we're nearing the end of the mastermind. So it's a 13-week program. So we're just over the 10-week mark and nearing the end. So thank you, Chenae, for allowing this time to come and chat to me. It's always glorious to hang out with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Always. So Chenae is going to share her experience, but yes, Chenae and I have I was thinking today about when I first ran into you, Chenae, when our paths crossed, and it was over 3 years ago, and I was actually a client of Chenae's before all of this. 3 years ago I started as one of your life coaching clients, and it's just, I am so very grateful of our path crossing all that time ago, and now you are in the mastermind with me, which is beautiful. So if anyone here is joining us, if you have any questions for Chenae about the mastermind, feel free to drop them in the comments. Let us know. I will have keep an eye on those as well as we go. But Chenae, I wanted just to ask you straight up, what drew you to join the mastermind?
Oh, that's an easy one. That would be you. Like, really. But to be more specific, because that's not particularly helpful for people who don't have an existing relationship with you. So, and there's a whole bunch of our sisters watching along live. So I'll keep a little eye out on those as well whilst we're chatting. But what actually happened was you and I, so you've already mentioned how we've been clients of one another. But there's more to it than that. You know, you've been a client of mine, and then you went on and did the 3rd level, and I obviously had been, I think I was partway through the 3rd level when you began, or something like that.
Yes, yeah, you were 6 months ahead of me.
Yes. And so that sort of then happened, and then we both graduated. But in that time frame, and don't ask me when, because it's a bit of a blur as to when things happened, but in that time frame, I also did some one-on-one work where I was the client of you. Yes. And I distinctly remember that there was a point where, you know, we're all familiar, like I can see most of the people who are here live as well are all familiar with the practice of heart congruence, not new to most of us. And I remember you guiding me into a practice of heart congruence at one point, and I could not get past it. I was stuck. There was this heavy, stagnant energy, and the dog's just having a little drink of water, so hopefully that's not super loud in your ears, slurping away. And I am forever grateful for that particular session that we had together. That was we had several sessions together, but that space and that idea that, you know, even coaches need coaches, and even intuitive guides need intuitive guides, and all that sort of stuff, it was pivotal for me, and it was really humbling. And it was like, right, yes, Brooke is one of the perfect people to serve me. Yeah. It was so spectacular, and it probably seemed like such a simple thing to you at the time, because all you did is just guide me to get over my own shit. Spoiler alert, I will swear in this Facebook Live. But it was actually, it was a really significant and a really pivotal moment for me. That's also that session, those sessions working with you, is when I finally got over my, I am not a consistent meditator shit. And now that's obviously very much not my story anymore. And so to then kind of segue into that, the reason that I decided to join the mastermind is because there was another story that I wanted to get rid of. I wanted to let go of. And that was this idea. I wanted to rid myself of this feeling of scarcity that I was so familiar with. I was sick of feeling the lack. And it wasn't that I didn't know what to do. It was that I didn't feel like I could do it by myself. And I was feeling like a tight ass. Like that's very much how it felt. I felt like I was being a tight ass in receiving and putting money, the energy of money, back out into the world. And I felt that scarcity. So I was like, I remember when we were messaging back and forth right before, I was like, right, shut up and take my money. Let's just do it. Right. Before that, it was like, I'm done with this feeling of scarcity. And that's the reason why I actually came in and went, all right, got over the line. And I was like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah, and that is such a big thing that you've hit on, that feeling of scarcity and lack, and we can sit there so long as a collective. It's sort of what we get taught and told, that that's how life should be. As we get taught that it needs to be hard and you have to work hard for it, and it's not easy to make money, and that does bring us up in this whole life of lack and scarcity, and too afraid to give.
Yeah.
And that affects the receival. So yes, I was, when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's right. Well, let's get rid of that lack.
Yeah.
Move it out.
Yeah. And then I get in the mastermind. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no.
I get in the mastermind, and I know over half of the women in there, and like some of them are really, quite close to me. And I'm like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It was funny actually, because Chenae is talking about so many of the other people who we've studied with, or we know of. They were all the last round, all were coming in, and obviously I don't tell people who are in the mastermind when people are inquiring and asking about joining it. I don't say, oh, well, you're going to really love it because you know this person, and this person. So it was glorious when I opened the group and everyone was coming in going, oh my goodness, you're here. Oh my goodness, you're here.
Yeah.
And again, there was also people who you didn't know, who just fitted so beautifully into the group. And that's what I love about the masterminds. You're part of the second one I've run. But the alchemy of the women who are drawn in, and the gloriousness that happens just between that group as well, it blows me away every time. It's absolutely lovely. I always love the women who are in my mastermind, always. So tell me, what was the one big thing you wanted to achieve in the mastermind? Did you come in with an idea of what you were hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, it has. It's actually that being rid of that scarcity. That was I went into it very clear. Like I actually had no idea what the content looked like and what we'd be doing. All it was I was like, yes, I need to get out of this scarcity that I'm finding myself feeling in. Like it was that not enoughness, but it wasn't about me not being enough. It was about that there was never enough money. I never felt like there was enough money, and it didn't sort of matter how much I was bringing in and how much, financial abundance was around me. There was just this theme that kind of was overarching. So I wanted to be done with that. And I'm pretty pleased to report that we haven't yet finished, and I'm confident that is no longer the reality that I'm creating. Like I know that I'm creating that reality. I can't deny that. We both teach a lot of the same intuition work, and there is no denying that. And even in coming into this program with that not preconceived knowledge, that information already available that I teach as well, I was like, and we started to go into the laws. I was like, am I going to get something out of this? And I'm very pleased to report that I absolutely have. And it's been really interesting because I've got a goal that I have been sitting on for years, right? And that's consistent 5-figure or 10K months. And that's been like this big goal. And there's a bit of an incongruency there. And there's a whole story attached to that I don't really need to go into today. But needless to say, I hit what my realistic goal was that was consistent, because what happened was 10K was my goal, and then 6 figures was also my goal. And those two things didn't line up, because that's 120K. Yeah. But in my head, 6 figures was 100, right? Hitting that 100K mark. And in fact, when you do the maths, whatever 100,000 is divided by 12 is like 8,666 or something. Let me do it now. Hang on. 100,000 divided by 12, 8,333. And so what I realistically needed to do is hit 8K as my, and a little bit, 8K and a little bit as my goal. And I hit it in May, whilst the whole world was in weird, wonderful times. I still managed to hit that goal when I was congruent with what actually was my goal, because 10 figures, I keep saying 10 figures, whilst 5 figures or 10K is a vision that I have, that doesn't also line up with 6 figures annually. And there was a an incongruency there. And so there's so many comments coming through. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm trying not to go off on like 6 different tangents. So I'll pause there and I'll just say I hit it in May and I'm very excited because it's just that feeling of scarcity. My intention to rid myself of that feeling of scarcity is gone. And that is not a coincidence. That is a result of doing this Money Healing Mastermind. And I'm confident in that. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your skirt because you're here with me. Like I've focused on it and I've paid attention to it and I've done the work, and you've guided us and held that space so that we could do the work. And I'm really grateful for that.
Oh, thank you, beautiful woman. Because you're right. That's all I do. I just hold the space and provide the conditions. You do the healing. You do the work. And the results that are coming out of the mastermind, they're not my results, they're yours, because you have shown up, you have done the work, you have absolutely met those fears and cleared them on the way. Every single week there's always those fears, but that's what we do, the mastermind. But anyway, any heads up if anyone who's looking to join, we spend 12 weeks fear hunting is exactly what we do. We spend all of those weeks going through your chakras, finding out what is sitting there, what is blocking access to your financial abundance, and we clear it. It's going to say it's as simple as that. Not always simple, but that's what we do. And you touched on intention before, and I wanted to talk about this because this is one of the parts of the mastermind which I haven't really spoken much about, but I want to share it here, because one of the parts we do in the mastermind is we hold intentions for each other. So yes, you came into the mastermind with that intention to get rid of that scarcity and lack, but actually during the mastermind I asked you to create a new intention, a very focused one that we could hold for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and then we can talk about the actual process we went through?
The specific, so that was the 10K month. That was my goal, and the intention that I set. And interestingly enough, I was the recipient of, and I won't spoil it, I'll let you explain it, but I was the recipient of that intention setting in May, I'm pretty sure. Like it was perfectly aligned. And to be really clear on that and to do whatever it was that I could do. So, you know, that whole idea of setting an intention and then just twiddling our thumbs, well, kind of missing the point a little bit. You've got to do some work to work with the delivery of that intention. And I found it really, really, really amazing to be able to hold intentions for others. Before I keep talking, I think you need to tell them what that looks like, because otherwise I'll spoil it. You go.
That's all right. You're more than welcome to explain it yourself if you like. But yeah, so what we do every Friday is we hold this intention for each other. So I guide us through this practice, and we create whoever it is, the recipient creates their intention. We get very specific on what that looks like, what that feels like, all of the details around it, and then I guide us into this practice, and we absolutely hold them in this light, hold them in their intention, and we see that as done. And during the intention, I ask the recipient to make a vow to do everything possible in their reality, anything possible to make this a reality, to make this intention a reality. So it's not only, yes, we are holding the intention, we are holding the space, we see it as done. You've got a vow to show up. You've got a vow to do everything you possibly can to make it a reality, because you're right, Chenae, we can sit in our meditation, I say this all the time, we can sit on our meditation cushions all day, every day, and nothing's going to change if we don't take those steps, that inspired action, and actually do what we need to do. And it has been, I think it's close to one of my favorite parts of mastermind, actually holding that intention and just being able to, like you say, just give, not even the receiving part, but to be able to give and to hold that intention and to see that it's done for people is just, it's glorious. I love it.
Yeah.
So feel free to share anything about it that you feel called to.
Yeah. There's a couple of the women who are in this current round with me here live. I'll let them identify themselves if they want to. I won't do that. That's not my place to do that. But in holding, I think we've done all but one now, and in holding that intention for the other women in when it was their turn, and doing one at a time, and being really, intentional with an intention, but being really intentional with it. I really enjoyed that, and it really, I think it worked. I think you've done a brilliant job in co-creating this mastermind, because in lining it up with, you know, the cosmic laws, the law of mentalism, that we're all one, in holding these intentions for each other, we're also, you know, giving and receiving in the same vein. And I really like that. It's very unique. I've never done it in this regard in any program or course or mastermind that I've ever done before, and I really enjoy it. It feels like there's a group cohesiveness that is, again, you know, there's a lot of things where people kind of start things with the best intentions and then they kind of drop off, and by the end of the program or course or whatever it is, the duration, you don't see them anymore. But there's this really beautiful cohesiveness. I feel really connected to these women, and it's really quite unique and spectacular. And I really appreciate that you put them on Mondays and Fridays, because they're my non-client facing days. So that actually works really well for me. I'm really grateful for that too.
Oh, beautiful. And yeah, you're right, because it all comes, the intention work came from the work of Lynn McTaggart and her book, The Power of Eight. That's why there's 8 women in the mastermind. And I've said to people before, in fact, last round, people were wanting to come in last round. I said, no, we've hit our 8. That's as much as we're going. And I said, look, if we need to, in future ones, I'd possibly go to 12, because Lynn does talk between 8 and 12. But I love that group of 8, and as you say, and being able to give and receive. It's just, yeah, I love that part of the mastermind. I really do.
Yeah.
So you said you came into the mastermind without even knowing the curriculum, knowing what was happening. And if I'm completely honest, most people who have come into the mastermind so far have done that. They have jumped in because they've been energetically drawn. I don't think I've told anyone what happens on each week or what is occurring.
Yeah.
But anyone that's watching who hasn't done the mastermind, how would you explain it to them? How could you explain the mastermind, what we do?
That's a good question. What I would do is I would explain it. I would say that first things first, there's not 1 but 2 live calls per week. And I found that really quite good. So the Monday and the Friday, and obviously, you know, on a Wednesday if we've got the public holiday on the Monday, and that, you know, knowing that in advance has been really helpful, because I've scheduled it in. I know when the things are happening, and that extra kind of level of connection, I suppose, that I think also contributes to that cohesiveness that I described earlier. And I would say that what happens is that we do what I would describe as 3D work and 5D work. You know, we do a lot of the energetic work in the intention setting. We do visualizations and meditations, and we start, and one of the things that I love that you do with us is that every time we arrive on a call, you make us stop and we all move into that heart congruence state. However we've arrived, we can come in and, you know, you did say to us right when we began to arrive on our calls present and chilled, but I will admit, I'm the first to admit, that sometimes I'm still making my cacao in the kitchen when I get there, right? Let's be honest. And you give us that space to arrive in the call together, and doing that from that, you know, that energetic perspective. But then what you also do, and I love this, is there's that balancing of the practical. You know, you can't sit on your meditation cushion all day and expect the world to change. So we've done some of the things that, can I talk about specifics? Do you
Sure,
mind?
yeah.
No. Specifics?
I don't.
So some of the things that we've talked about that I've found really advantageous. So we talked about profit first, right? And I've already got profit first set up in my business, and I've been having it run. So, a couple of years, maybe something like that. So it's well established in my business. But when we spoke about it again, I got even further clarity. So even though I came in feeling like, oh, we're talking about profit first, am I potentially going to get anything out of this? And I'm speaking quite frankly here, I still did. Same thing with money tracking. We looked at some money tracking stuff, and I have, again, so I track my money. I've taken it another step, another level, another tier with your advice and your suggestions. And so even though I also teach some of the stuff that we teach, because we're both teachers of the intuitive intelligence stuff, and I was already doing some of the 3D stuff, I have still gotten so much out of this mastermind. And that is, again, not an exaggeration. The fact that I could also show up and be a toddler having a tantrum in some moments. I had a call a couple of weeks ago where you will remember exactly the one I'm talking about, where I was just like throwing all of my toys out of the cot and I just wouldn't have a bar of it. but it was nice to know that because of that group cohesiveness, and you lead that, you set the tone for that. And because of that group cohesiveness, I felt safe and comfortable to actually speak up about the shitty stuff that was going on, and to express that, because that's something that I find doesn't happen in a lot of our everyday lives and everyday conversations where we talk about that kind of stuff. And there's been a couple of moments where we've been able to share, and I've said, Brooke, I had a really tough time doing that visualization because of blah, and you have witnessed and listened to us, and so does everybody else. And I really appreciate that. And that wouldn't happen if you didn't set the tone for that. So, you know, I'm really grateful for that, because it's helpful. It's very helpful.
Thank you. And it has been as well for me as well, because there have been moments where there have been people who haven't wanted to share, or I didn't get much out of that. And like, well, let's have a look. What's going on there? Why is that happening?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because we can still have resistance, even though when we are guided and taken on a journey, you can still have resistance through it. So to say to be able to be witnessed and move through that, yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, to be fiercely held, but to not be like mollycoddled. Is that the word? Like, I don't want you to pander to my sadness or my frustrations, and you don't. And that, I actually really appreciate that. It's refreshing. And that's, you know, what I would expect to for my clients to expect of me. And in the same vein, same thing. Coaches need coaches. I ain't got all my shit together. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. So tell me, how has your projection of money changed, or your idea of money?
Oh, so I've got a story I want to tell you. And I know I mentioned this, that I've got a story to tell you when we're live. I haven't actually told Brooke this, so Brooke's actually hearing this for the first time as well. I'm settling in. Look, I've gotten comfortable for story time. So I went out for dinner on Thursday last week with a gorgeous friend of mine. And I haven't seen her in she's local, but I haven't seen her in a while for obvious reasons, right? And we had agreed to go to a cafe that we tried to go to a few months ago with a group of us, and things like, basically the four of us, it just kind of fizzled, if that makes sense. Like, someone couldn't make it, and then someone else was like, oh, well, if you're bailing, I'll bail, and then it just kind of all fizzled, right? That happens. And so we planned to go to this cafe, and she called ahead just to check if, you know, it was open, and do we need to book, because #COVID, right?
Yeah.
And they had said, call us back on the day and it should be all fine. We don't have a menu for you at the moment. We've got to get them laminated. It was a very strange conversation. Anyway, and so she rings me on the day of. We're both really excited to go out and have dinner together. And she's like, so they're not open. We need to come up with another plan. Long story short, we were phoning, I don't know, half a dozen restaurants each before we both got back on the phone to one another again. And we had both booked somewhere, and hers sounded better than mine. So we cancelled my reservation and went with hers. And then we met up for dinner, and she goes, because she did tell me this before we got there, she goes, there's a minimum spend of $50 per head, right? And I was like, that's fair. You know, if that was normal times, I say that like that, normal times, I would have probably, or in the past prior to doing this mastermind, I would have had a bit of a problem with that. I would have been like, that's a bit sucky. I'm not really comfortable about that, because historically I would have, when I've gone out to dinner in the past up until now, I would order, like I would pick from the menu based on what I wanted and the accompanying price. I would always look at that, and that would always inform my decision-making process. So I just froze for a second. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Yep. Good.
Back? Okay. And so this dinner, this opportunity, and this particular friend is one of the most abundant in all ways, not just financially abundant, most abundant people I know, right? Just want to be like her. She's amazing. And so we went out for dinner. There's this minimum spend of $50, and it was a really, really pivotal moment of the change in my perception around money, because I had to spend a minimum of $50. So I was like, right, what's the most expensive glass of wine that I can have? I'm driving, probably going to have one, maybe two. How can we get our spend up to $50? And I've been feeling really abundant, of course, because I hit my income target in May. My vibe has been through the roof. I run daily meditation now, so I'm really in alignment. Oh my God, everything's all going really, really well. Not a coincidence that I'm doing a Money Healing Mastermind with you at the same time. And the whole experience was such a shift and a change in perception and perspective around money for me. I actually told her when we were on the phone a couple of days later, I said, I just need to tell you a little something about dinner the other night. And I explained to her that it was such a pivotal moment for me, because instead of what I had previously done, I was given an opportunity to look at it differently, because I had to. They said it's a minimum of $50. And I'm not going to not spend it if I've got to, if I have to spend that, I'm going to buy things that add up to that. We didn't end up adding. We just kind of guessed that it would be close enough. And our bill came to $104, I think. So it was $52 a head. It was perfect, right? Yeah. But I didn't hold back. I didn't pare myself back. I didn't decide what I was going to have, because I wanted to spend as little as possible and keep that, that scarcity mindset going that I had. And so I was telling her the story, and I was like, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And it was the perfect company, because, that kind of experience wouldn't have been the same with someone different, perhaps. And I actually have now written a little post-it, and it's on my fridge, and it says, remember that night with, and then I've got her name there. It says, remember that dinner with such and such. And I'm like, oh, it just feels so good. That's what I want it to feel like forevermore. And I want to keep remembering that. And I wanted to share that with you, because it was a absolutely spectacular experience, and it solidified that there has been a change in me.
I love that. I love that whole story.
It's so cool.
I love that. And I love the post-it note and everything to remind you, because yes, they're just the beginning of the experiences of how everything can change in your perception to money. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. And I think because we're doing this program for the length of time that you've chosen, is attributing to that as well. It's not like I'm ducking in and out after 4 weeks and then I'm done. Like, this is enough time for us to create lasting change. I personally feel that way. It's a good amount of time to be working on it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That 13 weeks. And I've mentioned on here before, the whole mastermind, I say it's not mine. It was downloaded in December, and it was like, it's 13 weeks. It's this, we do that. And I'm like, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And it has been really cool. I love it. And you're being able to see the journeys and see the changes that occur. And you're right, that 13 weeks is a glorious amount of time to be able to, and if you find a stumbling block on the way, as we work through the chakras, as we work through the fears, then you get picked back up and picked back up and shaken off and move on. Yeah.
And I love the way you do it as well, because there's been some things that I've had to go back and do again, like there's practices that I'm like, you know what, I have to go back and do that again. I need to do this, and then I can do that practice and be fully with it. And I'm very pleased to report again that I have not fallen behind on this course at all. I have done everything that has been required of me, and I am reaping the benefits. And that, I think, is for anyone who's considering coming into this next intake, because I know you're doing another round again soon, that this program is not going to work for you if you don't show up for it. Brooke's not going to freaking heal you. Like, you got to come and meet at that sort of point. And it's not like we're meeting you halfway. We're meeting ourselves, really. Let's be honest. So yeah, and that's a testament to you and how this program is formatted, because I have done things where I've just been like, I'll just leave it, but I haven't done that with this program, not once.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chenae. And that's and I have been so grateful for all of the women, because you're right, it's you've got to show up. In fact, I posted something very similar in our group. I think it was yesterday or the day before, when someone was like, oh my goodness, thank you. I'm like, I didn't do anything. You guys have to show up and do the work, otherwise nothing's going to change. And when you do that, it's amazing what occurs. Like, it truly is. And it's and like we talk about all the time, like my service is my medicine. It's exactly what I need. Like, this program is the program that I needed, and no one had it for me. Like, it wasn't available. And so I was like, when I went through it all myself, I'm like, this is exactly what I need. And when I get to show up every day and go through it every week with you all again. It's like that reminder, and yeah, all the calls are recorded, so you can go back and do it, you know, whenever you want, whenever you're called to. Even if you find something that's coming up in one of those lower chakras, you can go straight to that call. You can go through those practices, and it's always there for you.
Yeah.
And it is, yeah, amazing. So what is your biggest aha moment? Is there something that like you really just
that's a good question. I don't know that I could say that there's been, at least not off the top of my head right now, that there's been like one big specific thing. I think the truth for me and my experience is actually that it's been a series of not huge revelations. There's certainly been revelations, no doubt, but like a series of things that have kind of accumulated to create what is a new normal. Like, I reckon I'm probably frustratingly high vibe to some people at the moment, because it's just like, I'm naturally a fairly happy-go-lucky person, right? Anyone who spent any time with me would know that. But it's next level now. Like, it's totally gone next level. And I'm really excited to see, when we close up the mastermind, my new normal rolling out without this kind of container of support with you guys. And I'm actually really excited to finish the program, even though I don't want to finish the program. I'm actually really excited to finish it, to then allow that to kind of roll out, and for me to be responsible fully, because, you know, we've got you supporting us, even though we're doing it, for me to be responsible for this being my new normal. So I don't know if I could tell you that there's like one big aha. It's been a beautiful, like a collection of experiences that have just helped me really, like, it's like a blossoming is what it feels like. I'm growing and expanding, and yeah, frustratingly optimistic, I reckon, would be the description that someone else might use. But I love it. It's absolutely bloody brilliant. Yeah.
And I was actually going to say that, because I've been obviously watching you. I get to see all your posts and things even outside of our Facebook group, and your posts have been very similar, like especially in Facebook groups that we hang out in, the same one, like going, like, it's just off the chart, like this is just so good. Like, and it's been like, as you say, you normally are quite high vibing, but just seeing lately, it's just been glorious to watch as well. Going, this is the new norm. Absolutely the new norm.
Yeah. And I think what's worth mentioning is that in all of the things that have happened with COVID, I was meant to be running a retreat in Bali, my first ever retreat that I have had sitting on my little list of goals for years now, in May, right? Earlier this month, last month, it's June now, sorry. Earlier last month. And I had 2 of the 4 spots sold, and I had asked if you would come and be my support person, right? And that I haven't really publicly kind of told anybody that, but too late, it's done now.
That's so exciting.
And the being obviously a fellow teacher of the of intuition, and in that process and during this Money Healing Mastermind, I have had to refund those 2 places that have been booked and paid in full. And then on top of that, I then was qualifying for the JobKeeper payment, and I then had the support of this scaffold, if you will, of the mastermind, to A, make peace with handling the refunds, B, and I didn't bring any of this to the mastermind, I actually kind of self-processed this, knowing that if I needed the support, I could come to you. B, update my refund policy so that I'm not actually refunding the fees that I've paid in Stripe. And that was a big lesson for me. Like, I knew that shouldn't be the case, but I had not considered that this would be a reality. So I've become more responsible about money from a business perspective, which has been really cool. And I've made peace with the JobKeeper payment, which was a $3,000 payout in May that contributed to my income ticking that goal, and to not discount it because it came from JobKeeper. And that's something that without the container, I probably would have went, that doesn't really count. So I didn't really get there, and la, la, la. And I'm like, I'm not even considering that as a reality. There was a time, and I kind of was like, oh, and then I just was like, oh, and I grew through that. And now I'm like, that is mine. I pay tax on it. It's there. It's mine. I'm not discounting that money, not discrediting it. I don't want to ignore it. I would like more of it. Thank you very much. And it's now, it's equally part of my income.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely is. Yeah. And I love that, because we can have so many different views on where this money comes from, where that money comes from, and then we build up attachments to it when, yes, we need to absolutely let those go, and money, however it's coming, let it come to you. Let it flow to you, baby, however it wants to get here. It all counts.
Exactly. 25 cents at lunch with my mum and dad on Sunday. Thank you very much. And I tracked it. It's in my income tracking.
Yes, it counts.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So tell me, Chenae, why do you love money?
Oh, so many reasons. I love it because I no longer have this association that it is like this separate entity that's got some kind of like thing against me, because that relationship has changed. I love what it allows me to do. It allows me to buy flowers for the girlfriend who I went out for dinner with, right? And surprise, here's some flowers. And not one, but 2 bunches, because the one bunch kind of looked a bit sad by itself. It allows me to spend a minimum of $50 and feel like I could support that business and the wait staff that did such a good job of serving us and all of that. But more than anything, it allows me to make decisions. It's the freedom of choice that money gives me. That, if I boil everything down to what I really love money for, is it's that freedom. It's that freedom of choice to do things that are important to me, that the world that we live in is based on an economy, right? And that currency being money, that's what I really love about it. It's the freedom and that ability to make choices with it and do good stuff, like do good shit with it, and then also look after myself and splurge and all the things. And yeah, it's the freedom for sure.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Have a quick look. If anyone's got any questions for Chenae, feel free to drop them in the comments as well. We love to have some comments if you've got anything you wanted to ask her about the mastermind and get Chenae's take on it, instead of just hearing me talk about it all the time, because I quite happily talk about it and tell you all about it. But yes, if you wanted to hear from Chenae and how she's found it, drop your comments in there.
Yeah.
Would you be happy sharing with us one of your fears you had around money that you feel you've moved? Obviously,
my journal that I write in is actually downstairs. I was going to say, let me get my journal out and tell you a whole story of them. But yes, absolutely. I'm an open book. Okay, let me see if I can think of one.
Is there one that just raises?
Yeah, totally. That money has to be associated with hard work. There's definitely a belief or a fear, one in the same, that it had to be hard and that it couldn't be effortless and easy, and that I had to work hard to get it. And that has, there's a lot of customers, clients of mine that are repeat clients, and there's been a little bit of guilt that I haven't had to work particularly hard, because they, that it's been quite effortless for them to make the decision to, for example, with my daily meditation that I just set up in May, right? And then I didn't have to work hard to do that. Like it's that whole service is my medicine thing that we talked about earlier. It's what I needed, right? And so I now offer it, and it's a freaking privilege, and it feels easy. But the belief was that it had to be hard for me to really earn it. It had to be hard. Whereas now I'm like, it can totally be easy. And how can I make this more easy? And, there's been some changes in the back end of my business, and a few things happening with some older clients that I'd been serving for a really long time. And when one of them said to me, I think the time has come for us to not break up, but I think I've got everything that I need now. My response and my reaction was so different to what has happened in the past. And it was, how else can I make that, however many $100 a month it was, how else can I make that? And then within a week of that happening, the doors opened to my intuition course, and that was it. Like, it was done. I had sold that easily. It was fine.
Yep.
All hunky-dory. So it didn't have to be hard. It was actually easy and joyful.
Yeah.
That was one of my fears.
It absolutely does get to be easy and joyful. And thank you. Yes, I think we touched on that before as well. That's always such a big one, that whole, you got to work hard for it. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to work hard for it.
And what you offered, and what I think is really cool, is that you offer a weekly pay, and I don't know if you still do this for this next intake, you offer a week,
Mhm.
so you offer a
Yes.
weekly payment plan option. And I really appreciate that, you know, like it to me feels like, again, that freedom of choice that I mentioned earlier, like to have different options to pay, and that you've got a couple of different or 3 different tiers, like that variety and that choice and that freedom that I feel. I was like, right, yeah, cool. I really like that there's a weekly option to pay, because it's really manageable, but it also keeps the mastermind front of mind, because I see the money coming out of my account and I'm like, right, cool. I get a little PayPal notification. I'm doing this. I'm committed to this, and I'm going to make every cent worth it with this investment. And I really like that. I'm really grateful that you do that. So please keep that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, yeah. Well, we do. Well, that you can join from $55 a week for the next round, which is and that's I budget weekly myself. Like I'm a weekly person. Some people budget fortnightly, some people are monthly.
Yeah.
But I love every week. I know what's going in. I know what's coming out. It's easy for me to manage. And we're talking about money. It's a money course. Yeah, it's a money program. So we need to make it as easy as for everyone to be able to manage and to be able to deal with. So yeah, for me, a weekly payment was a no-brainer, because that's, again, what I want.
Yeah.
I want weekly payments.
Yeah.
When I join up to things, I want to be able to join something weekly and be able to spread it out over it. So I've actually got an extended payment plan of 16 weeks for this round. So yeah, $55 for 16 weeks you can join, and then we've got the other levels. So I am going to put all the information in. I'll drop it in the comments, possibly after, because this is the first from Zoom to Facebook. I'm going to have to get my tech all a bit more up to date.
Yeah, do it later. I would suggest
so I'll pop it in later so I don't lose everybody. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, why should people do Money Healing Mastermind? Why do you recommend it? Or would you recommend it? It's probably a good one to start with.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it?
Just in case we haven't
Just in case.
When I do this, look at my hand.
I know, I love it.
I should have pinned that down a bit better. Whatever. Yes, obviously, based on my glaringly obvious testimonials in what I've shared so far. The reason why is that I would be pretty confident in suggesting that pretty much all of us have money blocks in some way, shape, or form. It's kind of comes with the territory of being a human in these times, in the way the world exists at the moment. And ultimately we are the one who is blocking us. That whole, the idea of Ganesh, and he's like he has to literally ride his fear, because his vehicle is the mouse, and he has to literally ride his fear. But he's also the remover of obstacles, and that which places the obstacles in there. We're the same. Like we place our own obstacles in front of us and make it harder for ourselves. And so that also then means, and this is sort of frustratingly annoying but good at the same time, is that we have to take a level of self-responsibility for it. And the way you run this is, as you've said time and time again, you don't do it for us, you don't fix us, you don't heal us. That's not what it's about. The money healing that happens is our own. You are guiding us and taking us on this particular journey, but we have to show up and do that work. And so I don't think anyone's immune to that. So that's why I would recommend it.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right. And I think women in general actually have even more blocks, if I generalize it. And I only invite women into these masterminds. I don't work with men, and there's good reason. Like, I truly believe women have so much to offer this world. We have so much, and I see like day in, day out, amazing women who have such amazing gifts to give this world, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it because they've got these money blocks. And I'm like, goodness, just please get rid of them so you can shine. Please, do you not know how many people are waiting for you, who are absolutely waiting for you? And I always say money is the innocent bystander of our fears. It absolutely, like, when we get down to it, there's fears of self-worth and judgment and all these other things that sit in there. And money is the thing that gets absolutely in the way and gets held up by our fears and stops us from shining, stops us from showing up. And that's that's why I do it. I cannot wait to see so many more women have as much money as they possibly want, and if not more, and to be able to change the world. Like, as much as we, even as women, we don't like to think about having lots of money. Like, at times we're like, oh, that's a bit, ugh. Whereas, yeah, I want women to have heaps and heaps of money, and I want them to understand the privilege and the power that goes with it, and to be able to change the world and have women, heart-centered women, running this world with money. That is what I'm keeping in my. That's my intention. That's my view.
Yeah.
And that excites me so much to see that. And absolutely does. And just quickly check. I've been on a little bit of a rant there. Let me just go check I haven't seen any comments come through. It's comments, no questions.
Yeah.
Come through for us. Is there anything that you want to? I've just noticed we've been talking for nearly 50 minutes.
I know. I was just looking at the clock because I looked at half an hour and then I looked again and it would have been 45 minutes, and I'm not quite sure where that.
I don't know where that went. Is there anything you wanted to add or say before we round it all up?
What I would like to add is that I know that some people's buying decisions involve seeking, as you mentioned earlier, like, don't just take your word for it. You're the facilitator of it. And so what I want to do is say publicly, if anyone is considering doing this, but instead of taking Brooke's word for it, you'd actually like to, if this 48-minute conversation hasn't been enough, or close to 48 minutes, that please do reach out to me. I'm very happy to answer your questions. And I find that I have a particular trait, an archetypal pattern, if you will, that connects people. I naturally do it. I'm always like, oh, you should talk to this person because this person does this, right? So I often have people coming to me asking me, hey, should I do this? Or what do you think of this person? Or I'm considering this. What are your thoughts, right? And I'm not saying that to kind of blow my own horn. It's just something that I naturally and innately do. So if there's anybody who is watching this who is like, you know what, I'm curious and I want to hear a little bit more, I want to ask some specific questions about whether, it's right for me or all that sort of stuff, I'm happy to kind of extend the invitation out to people for that. And having that I want to say non-biased, but I kind of feel like I'm a little bit biased because I love and adore you, but a non-biased third-party opinion. So if that's the case, please do reach out and send me a message here on Facebook, and I'm happy to answer those. And I am one of those people who knows when I've got message requests from people, so I will see them. You won't have it sitting there unanswered for days and days. So yeah, I would like to say that actually to kind of make that known that that's an open invitation.
That's a glorious invitation. Thank you. I really appreciate that as well. And again, not something that I knew you were going to do. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. So yeah, if you want to reach out to Chenae, she will happily answer that, or me. I'll also drop in the comments. You can book in a 20-minute call if you want to chat it through with me. And yes, we'll be sharing over the next week or so more about the mastermind. I haven't, only just when Chenae said it, I haven't actually ever shared the schedule of what we do in the mastermind. I've shared what occurs and the benefits of it. But yeah, I may share and let you know, maybe possibly what you'll be doing.
Maybe.
The mastermind might let you know. But yes, a lot of it, if you feel it's your time to change your relationship with money, come along, come and join us, because it's a place to be. And as Chenae said, I don't believe there's anything like this around. I don't, because I was looking for it. So if you're ready, come and join us. The next round starts on the 15th of June. There's 5 spots left, so I just saw the third one just got snapped up just before our call, actually. So we've got 5 left if you want to join. Send me a message, or come and hang out. It would be an absolute privilege for it. And Chenae, you and I have got a glorious couple of weeks left before we finish our mastermind. And if anyone is watching this and you don't know who Chenae is and you're not following this glorious woman, go and find her, Chenae Carey Coaching. She is a teacher of intuitive intelligence, just like I am. In fact, you've got a next round starting in June. When does yours start?
23rd of June.
23rd of June. So go and check her out. Check out her page. Yes, adore this woman so much and love that we get to hang out all the time. the next few weeks anyway, before the mastermind rounds up.
Yeah.
But thank you everyone we've had people who have hung out with us all for the last hour. Thank you if you've just joined us or if you've been hanging out with us for the last hour. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Chenae. I really appreciate your time. I know you are one busy woman, and to come here and share with me and share with us all has, yes, been glorious. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing it to just flow freely and be a natural conversation. I'm much more comfortable like that.
I sent Chenae a list of questions earlier. I quickly scribbled like 10 minutes before we got in here. I was like, here's some questions I just thought up. I don't actually know if I'll use them or not, though. We'll just see how we go.
It's true. I can vouch.
And I was speaking to one of my sisters earlier. I was like, I've got to go. I've got to talk with Chenae. I said, like, I think I might write some questions. Not that I ever do that. She's like, why would you change what you normally do? I'm like, you're right. I'll just get on a wing it and just have a glorious conversation. But I can talk to you all day long.
Yes.
So we better wrap it up. Otherwise, we will continue to talk. But
people
thank you.
Have other things to do with their lives than listen to us talking nonstop.
Exactly. But thank you again. If you've got any questions about the Money Healing Mastermind, reach out, let me know, Chenae, or reach out to Chenae as well. And yes, we start the 15th of June. So I think that's just over 2 weeks time.
Yeah.
Thank you again, gorgeous one. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.